If you're like me, what you're hearing coming out of the presidential candidates' mouths on both sides, well, it makes your head explode. So we'll ponder some of this next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Well, hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution and we teach the rising generation to be free. I am glad you could join me. As always, I'm going to point you to that website, constitutionstudy.com, so you can find out everything I'm working on. Follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm even thinking about setting up an Instagram account to help share this information, because that's really what these videos are all about. It's about sharing information, sharing good information, constitutional information with as many people as we can. And I thank everybody out there that's helping me to share this. I've made a deal with both Restore the Intent, Constitutional Grassroots Movement, and Conversations on the Culture to help share these videos far and wide. I thank them for their help, and I thank each and every one of you who helps share this material as well. I'm also hoping some of you will head over to the website and consider supporting the work that I'm doing here, whether you just donate to the cause, buy one of the books, buy one of the classes that's coming out. Everything you can do to help me produce these videos and keep giving you that information will be a great help, and I hope you'll participate. So with that, let's take a look at what I call presidential tyrants, because that's pretty much what's going on. Look at what the presidential candidates have to say. Now, granted, the vast majority of the comments are coming from the Democrats because, well, we have a Republican incumbent running for re-election, so there isn't a lot of news on the Republican side. Doesn't matter, though. When the Republicans were running either against a Democratic independent or just amongst themselves, didn't make much of a difference. See, when I listen to what's being said, when I look at what's being put forth, there's one word that keeps ringing through my head over and over and over again. Actually, it's two words: tyranny and ignorance. Yeah, and like I said, it's both the Republicans and the Democrats. And it goes beyond the presidential election. Look at what's being offered. Free health care, free college, free control of your life. What else would you call people, men and women, who are claiming that they will tell you how to live your life? Well, actually what they say is they'll tell other people how to live their lives. But those other people are you. Now sure, we all want free stuff. It's human nature. But we never seem to ask what free stuff costs, because nothing's truly free. If you want free health care, if you want free education, if you want a free job, all you have to do is pay with your freedom. Pay with your liberty. That's what you're doing. We're trading liberty for free stuff. But it goes beyond that. Look at what the presidential candidates are talking about. They are talking about enacting programs they legally cannot enact. And by legally, I don't just mean the actions are unconstitutional. The presidents are saying they will implement programs that they are not allowed to. The president does not enact law. Congress does. Now, the president has executive orders, but those are only limited to orders to the executive branch. But again, we are seeing people making promises they know they cannot keep because the president can't write a law. Now, the president has a lot of influence over their party. So if the president is in power and their party controls the two branches, the two houses of Congress, well, then they can get a lot of work done. But again, you have presidents making promises they can't possibly keep to enact laws that are not only illegal for them to enact, but are also illegal for Congress to enact, to take away your freedom and make you dependent on the state. And all it's going to cost you is all your liberties, all your freedoms, and a significant amount of your money. And yet this isn't being talked about now, is it? Now, whether you think we need to fix our healthcare system, our education system, or any other system, which I believe all of them need some fixing, is your answer to give up all of your rights and liberties to do it. Look at it this way. How many of them are talking about what guns or accessories they will ban. We'll just ignore that whole Second Amendment thing. Even the Republicans talk about it. A Republican president banned an accessory that makes a certain gun shoot faster. Why? Well, because he was told that these things are dangerous, that they're bad, and he knows better than you do what the proper accessories for a firearm are. Take a look at the current presidential candidates on the Democratic side. It's not a question of who will or will not protect your rights. It's which rights are going to infringe, how much, how fast, and how they're going to pay for it. We literally are voting for tyranny. We are voting to create a king that will rule over us. And significant portions of the American people seem thrilled with the idea. Now, I don't know about you, but I seem to remember a guy by the name of Santayana saying those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Have we not learned from history what happens when you trade your liberties for a promise of security? Benjamin Franklin warned us. He said, if we will trade our essential liberties for the promise of security, we deserve neither. Well, America, that's the question that's being asked. See, when I see someone running for president that is promising to do things that are illegal for a president to do, well, then he's not running to be president. He wants to be king. Or she. They just have the title of president, but they effectively want to be king. When I see them running to do things that are illegal for the federal government to do, I see tyranny. I see the exact same thing we declared independence from almost 250 years ago being promised to the American people. And they're asking for it, and they love it.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
See, I see people saying that they'll put the right people on the courts to rule over us, making us subjects and serfs. And the people love it.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
You know what I don't hear them saying? How they will keep their oath of office to support the Constitution of the United States. How they'll protect our legitimate rights by keeping the government out of our way. And how they're going to act within the rule of law rather than promising to give us stuff in order to buy our votes. America, we are being bribed with our own money. And as Alexis de Tocqueville said, America ceases to exist. The American experiment fails when Congress figures out they can bribe the American people with their own money. You're being promised free stuff by a person who wants to be king, who wants to run a tyrannical government. And not only are we letting it happen, most Americans are begging for it.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
So the next time you see a debate or an ad or a campaign stop, ask yourself, is this liberty that they're talking about? Or is this tyranny? And it's happening on both sides. Step back and ask, is what the president or the presidential candidates promising to do something within the power of the presidency? Is it something within the power of the federal government? Is it something that fulfills their oath of office or breaks it? And if the answer is it breaks it, well, then we need to find better people to run for those offices. And then take that to the next step. What about your representative? A third of the Senate is up for a re-election. What about your senators? What about your local representatives, the one that work in your states or your local counties and local governments? Is what they're promising to do within their power of that office? Is it within the constitutions they're bound to? Does it fulfill their oath of office, or does it subvert it? Because if we won't pick better leaders, we deserve exactly what we get. So I hope that got your attention. I hope that made you wake up. I hope maybe it'll give you a different look at what's going on in political punditry and campaigns this season. Hopefully, I made you think a little bit more constitutionally about that vote you're going to cast in November and the vote you may be casting in a primary. Because we have been given not just a right, but a responsibility. And because we have not exercised that responsibility well, we have a mess in Washington and most of our state houses. That's the bad news. The good news is we can fix it. It'll take time, but we can do it by educating ourselves, by knowing what our rights are, by knowing how to defend and assert them, and by remembering that the people we elect work for us, not the other way around. We rule them. They don't rule us. At least that's what our founders created. And it's going to be up to you and up to me and up to all of us to determine if those liberties that were bought and paid for, what our founding fathers promised their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to create, is worth a little bit of time and effort on our side to investigate our candidates. And if I got your attention, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Find out more. And again, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the Constitution. Find out more about the Constitution. Find out more about your rights. Find out more about the role of the government and Congress, the federal government, the state governments. Learn more. Know when your rights are being violated. Know when they're how to defend them. Know how to assert them. And maybe come back next time. We'll talk more on the Constitution Study.